Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Gospel here with the part 2 of my profession overview YouTube series. This time we're covering the melee classes, but before I jump into that, I want to remind people to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you will, and also that there is a stress test for the CU Open Beta this Saturday, April 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So get in on that. I'm going to have a link to the Discord for restoration in the description, as well as a link to the download, and I'm going to be streaming it as well, so I'm going to leave a link to my Twitch channel so you guys can all check me out there. So on to the video, and we're going to talk about first Teras Kasi artist. This is a well-loved class. Everyone loves Teras Kasi artist. I'll show the class requirements real quick. You're going to need the unarmed tree in Brawler, and then also the two-handed tree in Brawler, and that'll be your Rex for getting TKA. TKA doesn't really have a whole lot of abilities. It's actually not a very high damage class. They have, I'll show you guys, they have advanced combo attack. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage. As you can see, it's like 118. It's not very high. And they have dizzy attack, which has a chance to dizzy your opponent, and it does dizzy, and it modifies their defense by -60, and then you can hit again. And now instead of hitting for 118, I hit for 188. They also have advanced leg sweep. So advanced leg sweep, that just knocks them down. It's not a hard ability. You just maybe dizzy them while they're knocked down. It won't keep them knocked down. They don't have that in pre-CU. But you can get them dizzy and then hit them again, and yeah, you do damage. TK is a more defensive class. They have taunt, which does 0 damage in you know, PvP. It doesn't actually do anything in PvP. They also have Center of Being. Now, Center of Being is really good for TK. So one thing you'll notice is TK is really just a tank class. As you can see, I'm not wearing any armor because TK gets innate armor. I think at max level, or max at TKM, it's like 6k armor or something like that, right? And then Center of Being, once you use it, it gives you like a warm-up bar, and then it gives you 500 defense. This is a massive ability. If you're melee and you want to be tanky, I do suggest picking up Honed Center of Being in this this box here. This is 500 defense is a lot, and you won't be getting hit very hard at all. Another ability TK has is Force of Will. I haven't tested this. I don't know if it works. But basically, if you're in cap, you use Force of Will, and you'll just pop right back up. The other ability they have is Power Boost. Power Boost is really good. First, you have to sit, and then you have to meditate. I'm just typing it all out. TK gets meditated novice, and then you use Power Boost, and it'll take some of your mind. It'll do this little warm up bar first. It'll take some, or usually it takes up your mind. I guess it doesn't take mine now, but it gives you 500 HP, and it's for 10 minutes. It's a really good skill. It's definitely great for tanks. So if you're looking for a tanky class, TK is a pretty good option. Let's go on to Fencer. All right, I'm back with Fencer, and as you can see, the Fencer requirements, you'll need the unarmed 4 tree, or the unarmed tree in Brawler, and the one-handed tree in Brawler. Fencer is a little different from the rest of the melee classes in that they've got some debuffs here. So they've got blind. So this is cool. This is actually, some of these abilities are cone. Blind is kind of huge because it modifies accuracy by 120. So you're debuffing, and that's going to cause your opponent to hit more towards their min, like I was talking about in the last video. The higher your accuracy, the more towards the max damage you'll hit on your weapon, and if your opponent has lots of defense, they'll start hitting forward towards the you'll start hitting towards the minimum of your weapon. But decreasing their accuracy lowers their damage against you, so that's really useful. They also have improved Binding Strike, which is an action regen debuff, so it's a negative 25%. It's actually pretty good. This is good, especially if your opponent is using a lot of abilities and you're trying to get them to not use so many abilities, because, you know, food and stuff will cover for it. They also have a slow. It's called Binding Strike. It lasts 20 seconds, or it's actually called Cripple Attack, sorry. But it's a pretty decent slow. So you've got a few debuffs, and then you've got a couple of damage attacks, the first being Body Hit, so I'll just go ahead and use that. I've got cybernetic arms, so I'm getting a melee proc that does like a 60 extra damage. It's not over the top or anything. And then I've also got Scatter Hit. Bah, 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 bah. Yeah, so it does some okay damage. And then you've got also Lunge. Now, melee attacks are like 5 meters normally, but Lunge has 7 meters. I think this ability was like 20 meters pre-CU, but if you're trying to attack someone, you can use Lunge and hit them from 7 meters. I don't know if that's CU accurate or not, but it does have some extended range, so it should be okay. And then the last ability I'll show for Fencer is Bleed Attack. So you just hit them, it does decent damage, and they just start bleeding. And it shows here, it says Gospel has caused Monarch to take 8 points of bleeding damage, 44 absorbed, 148 is resisted. So it's a decent bleed. It's almost like 200 damage bleed in PvP, assuming that they don't have like bleed resist or anything like that. It's not a bad skill, and it ticks every 10, 12 seconds, something like that. 11 seconds. So just a little extra DPS. The bleed, I believe, is cone. I think the improved Binding Strike is cone. Potentially even the Cripple Attack and the blind. I forget which ones are cones, but yeah, Fencer has a bunch of cone abilities, and that makes them pretty good at decent PvP. Everybody in front of you, if people are clumped up, you know, you'll hit, and you know, also grinding mobs is good. You know, whenever you're spitting layers, it's a big thing. Fencer, they get access to battle armor. So battle armor is their thing. So if you make a Fencer, you can expect to have like kind of equal stats across the board. So Fencer, yeah, they get access obviously to one-handed weapons. I haven't crafted any weapons, so I don't know how weapons are going to turn out, what the damage is going to be like and all that, but yeah, one-handed weapons, battle armor. We'll go on to Swordsman. Totally forgot to show the Swordsman requirements. It's just one-handed 4 and two-handed 4 in Brawler. Alright, so next we've got the Swordsman. If you've been disappointed with the damage of the melee classes so far, look no further. We've got Swordsman to play. So, Swordsmen use two-handed weapons. They are certified for battle armor, and they do a bunch of damage. So we'll first talk about Berserk. They have access to the Berserk ability. So real quick, I'm going to use Head Hit on my target here, and you'll see that it did 727 points of damage. And then also the Cyber Shock Arm proc. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. We hit Berserk, and then we Head Hit again, and now that 727 is now 773. Downside to using Berserk. Even though it's just a straight up damage buff, you cannot use healing abilities while you have Berserk on. So you can see it says you cannot improve back to infusion while Berserk. So that is a huge downside to using Berserk. Honestly, I would never use it, but maybe you would. Maybe you're a pure DPS, maybe you don't have any healing abilities, so you'd be alright. Next up is Sword Flurry. Sword Flurry does decent damage, it's like 428, it's not too bad. What's important is that it gives you this buff, which increases your defense by 120. And again, when you increase your defense, you're going to make your opponent hit for more towards their min damage on the weapon than their max damage. So this is a really good thing to throw into your rotation and just have around normally. I guys already showed you guys Head Hit, so I'll go ahead and show you guys Critical Strike. This has an increased chance to crit, although I haven't properly tested it. But when it does crit, it'll hit pretty decent. So it does a little less damage than head hit, but hey, it can crit. Then Swordsman has access to armor break, so you hit him with armor break, hit him for 214, and it just says reduces their opponent's armor. I don't know how much the armor is reduced by because it doesn't give me a number, but you'll notice that I hit for 684 with critical strike before, and oh, of course I'm going to crit him on that attack. Hit for 1,000 damage with the crit. Let me run that back a little bit here. Let's run this back. Hold on. All right, so let's head hit him so we don't have increased chance to crit. Head hit does 727. We armor break, and then we'll do head hit again. Head hits for 898. So from 727 to 898. Armor break is a huge debuff. Obviously worth using. Now we've got power attack. Power attack is huge. I'm just gonna heal myself really quickly so that we don't kill ourselves. Don't wanna die. Power attack. We'll use it. Let's see how hard it hits. 856 without armor break. Let's heal our character up here. We'll use armor break and then we'll use power attack and we'll see how much that hits for. His armor's broken, so it's 856 before. It is going to be now a miss. Good job, everyone. We did it. Let's try that again. Just give it a second here, and we'll power attack, and do it again. 1,000 damage, easy. Big hits with Swordsman. The only other ability I haven't talked about is area taunt. They have an AoE taunt. I guess because they could be tanky since they have Sword Flurry. If you pair Sword Flurry up with Honed Center of Being, you're going to be one tanky guy. And if you're using Swordsman, you're going to be high damage guy as well. So on to Pikeman. Alrighty, so Pikeman, the requirements for it are two-handed tree and brawler and the polearm tree and brawler, which is pretty obvious. Pikeman itself is kind of nice. It focuses on more debuffing the opponent with their offense than it does anything else. They get access to Intimidate or Improved Intimidate, which just straight up is damage reduction and also reduces some of their defenses by a little. Another unique thing they get is Improved Warcry, or Warcry in general. It modifies combat speed by -40. Combat speed, that's what your rotations are based off of. Like, it's going to reduce your cooldowns, or sorry, it's going to increase your opponent's cooldowns. So that's a really good skill. Very, very anti-DPS kind of class. Their attacks are pretty basic. They get spin attack, which will, I mean, it does okay damage. And then they get stunning blow, which is also, I think, improved stunning blows in AoE, but it has a chance to stun your target. As you can see, the negative to accuracy, negative to defenses. And then they get leg hit, which is actually not a bad skill at all. And then they get impale, which hits pretty decently. Cyber Shock Harm added another 120 damage to my attack. That's pretty solid on top of already doing 731. They get access to battle armor, and they use pole arms, obviously. Pikeman, not much to it. Very nice class, very good if you're trying to go tanky. I do suggest getting the Honed Center of Being from TK, and then you can intimidate your opponents and Warcry them, and if you're doing like a 1v1 situation, it's going to be very hard to kill you. Mix that with some Swordsman, maybe Fencer if you want to debuff your opponents even more. Swordsman if you want to do more damage. You know, melee classes are really good. I feel like melee classes are in good shape in the CU. But that's all I had to say for today on the melee classes. This is the melee class profession overview. Again, there's a stress test on the 17th of Saturday, April 17th, 1 p.m. Eastern. Comment, like, subscribe, check out my Twitch channel and the link down below, and I will catch you all later. Peace.